After Herzl's death, the splits within the Zionist movement exacerbated. In 1898, Nachum Sirkin had written The Socialist Jewish State, and from 1903 onwards, the majority of settlers in Palestine were socialist Zionists. They believed they needed to reconnect with the land of Israel and till it themselves. One of their number, Aaron David Gordon, stated, "The problem with the diaspora was that we had always said, let John and Mustafa do the work for us. Now we must do it for ourselves." It was this group that created the kibbutz movement and the moshavim, and many of them would later become the leaders of the State of Israel. In 1906, two young firebrands, Chaim WEIZMANN and Vladimir Jabotinsky, later to become giants of Zionism, proposed a compromise between the settlers and those who followed Herzl's path in trying to induce big powers to grant land to the Jews. In the interim, settlements continued, particularly with the Second Aliyah, 1903 to 14. These were the socialist Zionists, who created the kibbutz movement and later became the leaders of the state. After World War I, the Turkish Empire was dismembered and the Middle East divided up by the victorious British and French. New territories were created. The British awarded mandates on Palestine and Iraq, the French on Syria and Lebanon. During the war, the British had made promises to both the Arab leadership and the Zionists. On November 2, 1917, they had issued the Balfour Declaration in the form of a letter to Lord Rothschild, and it was made public to an audience of 2,000 people at the Royal Opera House. When in 1921, the British took over from the military administration in Palestine, approved by the League of Nations, written into it was the Balfour Declaration, plus a clause to facilitate Jewish immigration. During World War I, the British had also made promises to the Husseini family, one of the most important in the Arab world. This conflict of nationalities will be dealt with in more detail in another unit. Haj Amin al-Husseini, the Mufti of Jerusalem, and the appointed leader of the Arabs of Palestine, was opposed to any Jewish immigration, which led to a tragic collision course. As far as the Zionists in Palestine were concerned, one of the main purposes of the land of Israel was the ingathering of the diaspora Jews. In the chaos at the end of World War I, thousands of Jews, mainly from the newly independent Poland, flocked to Palestine. In 1933, the Jewish leadership in Palestine signed a transfer agreement with the Nazis, which allowed Jews to take a portion of their capital in the form of German goods. This enabled thousands of German Jews to emigrate and enrich the existing community in Palestine. It was controversial because it weakened the worldwide Jewish boycott of German goods and posed the question of, do you in any circumstances deal with the devil? Until 1936, as conditions worsened in Germany, the Mandate Authority allowed Jews with means to enter Palestine, but the Arab strike and revolt of 1936 changed this. The Mufti was opposed to any further Jewish immigration into what he believed should be an Arab, not Jewish, future state. In 1936, the British established the Peel Commission. A year later, the report decided that the Jewish national home was no longer an experiment but a going concern. In addition, the development of the country resulting from Jewish immigration had considerably benefited the country's Arabs, but noted the Arab leadership's hatred and fear of a Jewish national home. Leading Jews and Arabs gave evidence before the commission. Vladimir Jabotinsky, a leading Zionist, wrote, "I assure you that you face here today in the Jewish people with its demands an Oliver Twist, who has, unfortunately, no concessions to make. We have to save millions, many millions. I do not know whether it is a question of rehousing 1/3 of the Jewish race, half of the Jewish race, or a quarter of the Jewish race. I do not know, but it is a question of millions." Chaim WEIZMANN, on his report, about his evidence to the 20th Zionist Congress, Zurich, August 4, 1937, said, "I told the Commission, God has promised Eretz Israel to the Jews. This is our charter, but we are men of our time with limited horizons, heavily laden with responsibilities towards the generations to come. I told the Royal Commission that the hopes of 6 million Jews are centered on immigration. Then I was asked, but can you bring 6 million Jews to Palestine? I replied, no, I am acquainted with the laws of physics and chemistry, and I know the force of material factors. In our generation, I divide the figure by 3, and you can see in that the depth of the Jewish tragedy. 2 million youth, with their lives before them, who have lost the most elementary right, the right to work. The report decided that partition was the best equitable solution. August 1937, the Congress rejected the details of the appointed territory as too small, but they encouraged the executive to negotiate. The Arab Higher Committee opposed the plan and requested the support of neighbouring Arab states. Some moderate Arabs tended to support the commission, but were fearful in the face of extremism. The British government itself decided to reject the Peel plan. In a memorandum to the government, on the 9th of November 1937, George Rendell, head of the Middle Eastern Department at the Foreign Office, wrote that the Middle East was an organic whole and that good Anglo-Arab relations hinged on no Jewish majority in Palestine or full sovereignty over any part of Palestine. This policy was predicated on the assumption that in a future war with the Axis powers, Arab enmity would be a serious threat to British interests in the Middle East, and that the Jews would have no choice but to side with the British. In May 1939, the government issued the White Paper, which permitted a total immigration into Palestine of 75,000 Jews over 5 years, and thereafter no admittance without Arab consent. David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, said, "We will fight Hitler as if there is no White Paper, and we will fight the White Paper as if there is no Hitler." The White Paper was adhered to throughout the war. On 18th of September 1939, WEIZMANN requested that 20,000 Polish Jewish children be allowed into Palestine. The Colonial Secretary, Malcolm MacDonald, admitted it might be possible within the White Paper, but finally rejected the request. Throughout the war, the British attempted to counter the illegal immigration firmly. Many historians believe that had the British opened the gates of Palestine, all of Austrian and German Jewry could have been saved.
To stay up to date with JTV content, click subscribe here if you're on YouTube and hit the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button and under following, click see first. If you enjoy watching JTV content and want to help us continue to grow, please consider making a donation to us by clicking here.